Hello. Today we will dive into the grim reality of a medieval prostitute who is struggling to survive in a harsh world. She faces violence, cold, loneliness, and futile attempts to escape this brutal system. Yet despite it all, she does not give up. Each new encounter with the cruelty of the world only reinforces that she must keep moving forward, despite the doubts and constant fear that one day she may no longer be able to continue. Before you get comfortable, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments which city you're watching from and what time it is where you are. It's really interesting to see who has joined us. Now, get comfortable and let's begin. You wake up to the piercing chill of the early morning air that seeps through the cracked wooden walls of your small, filthy room. The weak rays of the sun filter through the grime-coated window, offering little warmth or comfort. It's the kind of sunlight that highlights the dirt and decay, but offers no hope of escape from the bleak reality you know. Every inch of your skin aches from the hard straw beneath you. It isn't much better than the cold cobblestone streets, but at least it offers a momentary refuge from the world outside. Your bedding consists of tattered, damp straw and the remnants of what once might have been a blanket, now reduced to rags. The smell is enough to make you gag, but you're used to it now. You've learned to ignore the stench of urine, sweat, and decay. It's just part of the world you inhabit. Around you, the sounds of the city slowly begin to wake. The muffled clamor of voices and carts rolling over cobblestones seeps through the thin walls. You hear men shouting orders to their workers, the clang of metal on metal, the distant yells of children, and the ever-present drone of a world that doesn't care about the people like you. The market will be bustling soon, and so will the streets. People will walk past, some ignoring you, others eyeing you with suspicion or indifference. Most won't even notice you. They never do. Your mind drifts back to the previous night, where you were forced to sell your body just to survive. Every time you close your eyes, the image of your last client, his hands rough and demanding, burns itself into your memory. It was a quick affair, a necessary one. He paid for what he wanted, and you let him take it. There's no room for pleasure in your world, no space for softness or tenderness. You offer your body in exchange for survival, nothing more, nothing less. As you sit up, the coldness of the air makes your skin crawl. The small room is cramped, the walls closing in on you. There's no room for thoughts of escape, no place to go but the streets. You get up, your limbs stiff from the night's uncomfortable sleep, and stagger toward the small mirror on the wall. The reflection staring back at you is one you hardly recognize anymore. Your face is gaunt, pale from lack of proper nutrition, your hair matted with grease. But what disturbs you most are your eyes, dull and lifeless, devoid of the spark they once had. Today will be like any other. You'll put on your clothes, or rather, the remnants of clothing that you own, and venture out into the streets to do what you do best: survive. But even as you prepare to face the day, the thought of it fills you with dread. It's not just the work that wears you down, it's the constant reminder that as a woman in this time, this is all you are: a tool, a commodity, a thing to be used and discarded. There's no one to help you, no one who will care. If you were to disappear, no one would even notice. The world goes on, indifferent to your existence, and so you force yourself to stand, to move, to keep breathing, because that's all you can do. The pain in your stomach reminds you that you haven't eaten since yesterday, and even then, it was only a small piece of bread. You can feel the emptiness gnawing at your insides, but you ignore it, just as you ignore the bruises from the night before, the memories of the men who've taken everything from you and given nothing in return. You pull on your faded dress, which is barely more than a rag tied around your waist, and tie your shoes, though it's questionable whether they can still be called shoes. The laces have long since broken, and the soles are worn thin, but they'll have to do. As you step into the cold, damp air, you wrap your arms around yourself, trying to hold on to whatever warmth you can find. The streets are already bustling with life. The cobblestones are slick from the previous night's rain, and the smell of the city, a mix of food, sweat, and filth, hits you like a physical blow. You know where you're headed. The market square will be full of men looking for what you have to offer. Some of them will pass you by without a second glance, but others will approach you with lecherous eyes, ready to bargain for your body in exchange for coins. It's all you can do. The cold morning air bites at your skin as you step into the streets. The sky is a dull gray, the kind of overcast that suggests rain, though the dampness in the air already tells you that it might not wait until later. The narrow alleyway you exit from stinks of stale refuse and old urine. A stray dog sniffs at a pile of rotten vegetables, its ribs visible through its matted fur. You push past it, avoiding its dirty gaze, but its hunger seems to mirror your own. It takes everything within you to keep walking, to ignore the feeling of dread that curls around your chest like a vice. You know exactly where you're going: the market square. It's where the men gather, looking for women like you, willing to trade money for what you have. A quick transaction, no questions asked. They come from all corners of the city, drawn by the scent of desperation and the promise of something they can buy. You shuffle past other women, your peers, the ones who make their living the same way you do. Most of them have already put on their faces, their smiles painted with false warmth. They act like everything is fine, like this life doesn't weigh them down with every step they take. But you know better. You see it in their eyes. They're just as hollow as you are, just as worn. The streets are noisy. A cart pulls by with crates of fruit, the creak of the wheels adding to the clamor of voices. Children run between the crowds, laughing, playing, unaware of the filth that surrounds them. You envy their innocence. You envy their freedom to be children, to not be bound by the hard realities that come with the body you've been given, the life that's been thrust upon you. But the world doesn't care about your envy. It doesn't care about what you wish for, what you dream of in the quiet moments when you're alone with no one watching. As you walk, you pass a group of men standing outside a tavern, their conversation full of laughter and rough jokes. They stare at you as you pass, their eyes following your every movement. You feel them undressing you with their gaze, and the sensation makes you shiver. They're not interested in you as a person. You're just a body, a means to their pleasure. They don't see the woman who wakes up every day to this hellish reality, who dreams of escape but knows it's impossible. They don't care about your story, your hopes, your pain. You're just another face in the crowd, just another piece of flesh to be bartered and sold. You approach the market square, and your heart tightens as you see the crowds gathering. Men mill about, inspecting fruits, meats, and textiles, their voices rising above the sounds of the merchants hawking their wares. But your attention is focused on something else. The customers. They're always there, waiting, scanning the square for women like you, those who have no choice but to offer themselves. Some of them are quick to approach, while others prefer to wait, lurking at the edges, their eyes darting between the bodies moving around them. Your stomach growls loudly, and you ignore it, just as you've done for years. Hunger is a constant companion, one you've come to accept, even though it gnaws at your insides. You'd give anything for a warm meal, a full belly, something that didn't leave you feeling weak and exhausted. But there's no time for that now. The need to survive is more urgent than the pangs of hunger. Survival comes first, always. A man approaches you. He's older than most of the clients you see, his hair graying at the temples, his clothes worn but not ragged. His eyes flicker over you, assessing you in a way that makes your skin crawl. He doesn't look at your face. He looks at your body, appraising it like a piece of livestock. His mouth twists into a smirk, and you know this is your opportunity. You have to act quickly. You know that if you don't accept him, you'll only be left to roam the square in search of someone else. And the longer you wait, the fewer options you'll have. You turn toward him, offering a small, practiced smile. It's the kind of smile that doesn't reach your eyes, the kind that's meant to hide the bitterness inside. He grins back, his teeth yellowed, and you feel a wave of disgust wash over you. But you can't afford to show it. You can't afford to turn him away. How much? He asks, his voice rough, like he's used to barking orders. You hesitate for a moment, but then you offer a price. It's low, lower than you know you should ask, but it's all you can manage. You need the coins, you need the warmth of a meal tonight, or maybe just a few hours of sleep without the constant ache in your body. He nods, agreeing to the price without hesitation. You take a deep breath, steeling yourself for what's to come. He's not the worst, not by a long shot, but that doesn't make the act any easier. You walk with him to a nearby alley, your heart pounding in your chest. The noise of the market seems to fade away as you enter the shadows, the stench of the alley rising to meet you. The man wastes no time. He grabs you by the arm, pulling you close, his hands cold and clammy. He's eager, and you know what that means. You'll do what you need to do, let him have his way, and then it will be over. He'll leave, and you'll be left to count the coins, to feel the emptiness of your body as it recovers from the transaction. It's never easy, but it's always the same. As his hands roam, you try to block it out. You close your eyes, imagining a world far away from this, but it never works. The reality of the situation crashes down on you like a weight, suffocating, unyielding. You want to scream, to fight back, but you know better. It's too late for that. When he's finished, he hands you the coins. It's not much, but it's enough for today, enough for the barest survival. You don't thank him. You don't even look at him as he leaves. You just take the coins and move on. Another transaction, another man, another piece of yourself given away in exchange for survival. You pull your dress back into place and step back into the crowds. The market continues to bustle around you, oblivious to the exchange that just took place. You feel hollow, like a shell, and yet you walk on. You walk because that's all you can do. You move through the market like a ghost, trying to make yourself as invisible as possible. The noise, the smells, the frantic energy of the crowd are overwhelming, but you've learned how to navigate it. You don't look anyone in the eye. You don't make any unnecessary gestures. You keep your head down, your face neutral, hiding the exhaustion that weighs on you like a stone. If you show any sign of weakness, someone will take advantage of it. And you've seen what happens to women who are too obvious in their despair. The world around you is a mess of humanity. The ground is filthy, a mixture of dirt, discarded food, and the occasional splatter of vomit from one of the many drunken men who roam the square. Flies hover over the remnants of food, landing on pieces of bread that have already begun to rot. You catch sight of a child, barefoot, running through the muck, their face smeared with dirt, and a pang of something sharp and bitter stabs at your chest. It's envy, but it's also regret. You used to dream of being free, of being a child again, unmarked by the cruel lessons the world has taught you. But those days are long gone. You have no time for dreams. You don't dare to stop and linger. You know the risks. You've seen women who weren't fast enough, who stood around too long hoping for someone else to approach. You know how quickly a man's eyes can turn from hunger to rage if they feel rejected or ignored. Violence is always lurking just beneath the surface, and you've had your share of it. There's no protection for women like you. No one will step in when a man decides to take more than he's paid for. The town guards, if they exist, are too busy with their own agendas to concern themselves with the likes of you. So you keep moving, your feet slapping against the wet cobblestones, and you ignore the lingering feeling of eyes on your back. As you push through the crowd, You spot a commotion on the edge of the square. A group of men is gathered, shouting and gesturing violently at one another. Their words are lost in the noise of the market, but you know what this is. It's not the first time you've seen something like this. A fight is brewing, fueled by alcohol, greed, or just the sheer brutal boredom that defines this city. You've seen men beat one another senseless for less. There are few rules here, and the ones that exist are rarely enforced. A fight can break out at any moment, and if you're unlucky, you could be caught in the middle. You're not in the mood for trouble today. You push past the crowd, trying to avoid drawing attention to yourself, but it's hard. It always is. You're a woman in a world that doesn't see you as anything more than a tool to be used, discarded, and replaced. And men like the ones gathered at the edge of the square, they don't care who gets hurt as long as they get what they want. They're just as likely to take their frustration out on you as they are on one another. You don't stop moving until you're clear of the crowd. Even then, you can still hear the shouts, the angry voices, and the sound of fists meeting flesh. The violence is just another part of the world you live in. It's a constant undercurrent, one that never fully dissipates. Sometimes it's the men who hurt each other. Other times, it's the women who bear the brunt of it. You've been hit before, many times. It doesn't even surprise you anymore when a man becomes rough or aggressive. You're used to the bruises, the pain, the way your body becomes a battleground in the pursuit of someone else's desires. You've had your fair share of cuts and bruises. You've learned to hide them, to cover them up with long sleeves and thick skirts, but sometimes you don't have the energy to care. Sometimes you just let the wounds exist because you know that they too are part of the price you have to pay for being alive in this world. You don't know why you keep going, why you continue to push through each day. Some days, it feels like the weight of the world is too much to carry, but the alternative is worse. If you stop, if you let yourself collapse, you won't survive. And survival is all you have left. The sun is beginning to set, casting long shadows across the market square. The men are still there, still wandering, still looking for someone to take for the night. The desperation in their eyes is palpable, and you can feel it in your gut. They're hungry, but not for food. They're hungry for control, for power, for the illusion of dominance. You're just a way for them to fulfill that need. You pass by a butcher's stall, the air thick with the smell of raw meat. The butcher is sharpening his knives, his face covered in blood and sweat. His eyes flicker over you for a moment, but he doesn't speak. That's the thing about this world. People don't need to speak to communicate. The look in someone's eyes is enough to say everything. You don't need words to understand the hunger, the lust, the violence that runs beneath the surface of every encounter. It's a struggle not to vomit when you see the piles of innards, the bloody cuts of flesh. It's another reminder of what life has become. You are meat, too. You are just another part of the world's machinery, another thing to be used, consumed, and discarded. The thought sinks into your chest like a stone, and you find yourself wishing for a moment of peace, a moment where you can close your eyes and pretend that none of this is real. But there's no time for that. The market is still busy, and the men are still searching. Some of them will approach you, some of them will pass you by. The day will end like every other, but it doesn't matter. You will keep going because you have no other choice. This is your life now, and it will be until the day you can no longer walk these streets. The sun is sinking lower in the sky, casting long shadows over the bustling streets, and still you move through the crowds, searching for the next opportunity. Your stomach growls again, the gnawing hunger more intense this time. You'd give anything for a warm meal, something that doesn't taste like stale bread or sour wine. But there's nothing in this world that comes free, not for people like you. You've learned that the hard way. The marketplace is winding down now. The men are still here, wandering between stalls, checking for last minute deals, but they're all starting to look a little more impatient, a little more desperate. You can see it in their eyes. The hunger is still there, but it's mixed with irritation, maybe even fear. They're not used to being ignored. They're not used to having to wait. You're too familiar with this feeling. It's the silence before the storm, the brief lull before the chaos, and you know what comes after. The longer you stand in this square, the more you risk. Men like this, they don't tolerate being turned down. If you don't make a deal, they'll just move on, and you'll be left standing there, useless, just another woman in the crowd. You can't afford to wait too long. A figure catches your eye across the square. It's a man, older than most of the others, his clothes more worn than the rest, but he doesn't seem to be in any hurry. He's scanning the women as they move about the market, but there's something different about his gaze. He's not just looking for a quick fix, he's studying them, taking his time. It's a little unsettling, the way he watches, like a predator sizing up its prey. But you don't have time to be picky. You take a breath, smooth your clothes, and start toward him. As you get closer, you notice his features more clearly. His face is rough, weathered by years of hard living. His eyes are tired but sharp, like he's seen too much to be fooled by anything. His hair is a mess, tangled and greasy, and his hands are calloused, marked by the kind of labor that leaves no room for softness. When he notices you, his eyes flicker for just a moment, appraising you the same way he's appraised the other women, but there's something different about the way he looks at you. Maybe it's the way you move, or maybe it's just that he's tired of the usual faces. You stop in front of him, trying to make yourself as small and unremarkable as possible. You've learned that the less attention you draw, the better. He doesn't speak right away, just takes a long look at you. His silence is almost worse than words. You can feel the weight of his gaze on you, and you try not to flinch, but you can't stop the feeling of vulnerability that creeps up your spine. Finally, after what seems like an eternity, he speaks. His voice is low, rough, like it hasn't been used much recently. Do you have a place? He asks. You blink, caught off guard by the question. It's not what you were expecting. You were ready for the usual transaction, the low bartering, the dirty looks. But this is different. He's not asking what you're selling. He's asking if you have somewhere to go. You swallow hard, unsure how to respond. The words are stuck in your throat, and for a moment, you almost wish you could disappear, melt into the crowd, and leave him behind. But that's not an option. You need to work. You need the coins. So you answer, your voice barely more than a whisper. No, you say, no place. He nods slowly, as if he expected this answer. Then, without another word, he turns and walks toward the edge of the square, motioning for you to follow him. For a brief moment, you hesitate. It's not like you've never been approached by men who offered to take you somewhere, but this feels different. There's a calmness to him that doesn't sit well. You've learned not to trust anyone, but you also know that you don't have much of a choice. You follow him, keeping your distance. You're always cautious, always looking over your shoulder. Trust doesn't come easily, and it's never been something you've been afforded in this life. But the thought of spending another night out here in the open, hungry and alone, drives you forward. The man leads you down narrow, twisting alleys, away from the noise of the square. The air smells worse here, mingling with the stench of refuse and wet earth. The buildings press in on either side, and you wonder just how far he's taking you. But the further you go, the more you realize that there's no turning back now. You're in too deep. Finally, after what feels like an eternity of walking, he stops in front of a building that looks no different from the others. It's dark, the windows covered with grime, and the door appears to have been hastily repaired with old wood. He pushes open the door without a second thought and gestures for you to enter. You step inside, hesitating just a moment before crossing the threshold. The room is dimly lit by a single candle, the flickering light casting long, eerie shadows on the walls. It's cold inside, the air heavy with the smell of old wood and stale air. There's a table in the center of the room and a few mismatched chairs scattered around. It's not much, but it's a roof over your head, and for the moment, that's all that matters. The man gestures for you to sit, and you do, though you feel out of place in this unfamiliar setting. The silence is suffocating, and for a moment, you don't know what to say. He sits down across from you, his eyes never leaving you. The tension in the room is palpable, thick enough to cut through. You hungry? He asks, his voice low. It's a strange question coming from someone like him. You look at him, unsure of how to respond. You can't remember the last time anyone asked you that. You've learned to ignore hunger. It's a constant companion, but you've never had the luxury of someone offering to fill the void. You nod, finally, and he rises, disappearing into the back of the building for a moment. When he returns, He has a loaf of bread in one hand and a small bowl of something that smells faintly of meat. It's simple, but it's food. It's more than you've had in days. He sets the food down in front of you, and for the first time in a long time, you feel something other than fear. The hunger takes over, and you don't hesitate. You tear into the bread, the warmth of it filling you in ways you didn't expect. You eat quickly, almost greedily, and for a brief moment, the world outside doesn't matter. But as you finish the meal, the reality of your situation begins to settle back in. This man hasn't done anything for you out of kindness. He's still a stranger, and you have no idea what he wants in return. When you look up, he's watching you, his eyes cold and calculating. The brief moment of peace fades, and the familiar tension fills the room once more. The bread sits heavily in your stomach, the warmth of it offering a fleeting sense of comfort, but it's quickly followed by a familiar, gnawing emptiness. The food, simple as it is not enough to satiate the hunger that stretches deep within you. But it's a momentary reprieve, and for now, you can't afford to complain. It's the first thing resembling a real meal you've had in days. You've long since learned that any meal, no matter how small, must be taken without hesitation. The man watches you intently as you eat, his gaze never faltering. The silence in the room stretches between you both, thick and heavy, as if each of you is waiting for the other to speak. The flickering candlelight casts strange shadows on the walls, distorting the familiar shapes of the room and making everything feel surreal, distant. The air is stale, the warmth of the bread slowly dissipating as you finish the last of it. The bowl of meat sits untouched now, the scent of it only faintly reminding you of what you've had. You feel the hunger rising again, but you dare not ask for more. When the man speaks again, his voice is soft, measured, almost too calm for the weight of the situation. You don't have a place to go, he states. It's not a question. He already knows the answer. You've already given it to him. But there's something unsettling about how he says it, like he's sizing you up, trying to figure out how to use that information. You lower your gaze, not wanting to meet his eyes. No, you reply quietly. I don't have anywhere. The words sound pathetic even to your own ears. You've said them before to countless men, to countless people who never cared. But here, in this strange place with this strange man, they seem to carry a weight they never had before. It's a reminder of just how far you've fallen, just how little you matter in this world. He leans back in his chair, his eyes never leaving you. It's a look you've seen before, the cold, appraising gaze of a predator. You want to shrink away from it, but you can't. There's nowhere to run here. You have no escape. You can stay here, he says after a long pause. His words are blunt, lacking any softness, any hint of kindness. For the night, the offer hangs in the air, heavy and suffocating. Your mind races as you weigh the options. It's not like you have a choice. Staying here might be the only opportunity you'll get for the night. Outside, it's cold, and the streets are full of dangers. But something about the offer makes you wary. You've lived long enough to know that nothing in this world comes without a price. What do you want in return? You ask, the words slipping out before you can stop them. You don't know why you ask. Maybe it's the instinct to protect yourself, to guard your body and your soul from whatever dark transaction he might expect. Or maybe, just maybe, you hope that this time it will be different, that for once someone will offer you something without expecting you to pay with your flesh. The man shrugs, the movement casual. He doesn't seem bothered by the question. If anything, it seems like he expected it. He leans forward slightly, his hands resting on the table between you. I don't need anything from you, he says, his voice low and even. Not tonight. His words should be reassuring, but they aren't. They don't sit right with you. The world you live in doesn't work like that. There's always a price. There's always something taken. You can't trust anyone who offers something for nothing, especially not in this world. But you don't have the luxury of choice. You don't have anywhere else to go. I'll sleep on the floor, you say, your voice almost a whisper. I won't cause any trouble. The man's gaze sharpens for a moment, as if he's considering your offer, weighing it against something unspoken. Then he nods, as if reaching some silent decision. Fine, he says. Stay. You don't move immediately. You're unsure of how to proceed, still unsure of the dynamics at play here. This is the first time someone has offered you anything that even remotely resembles kindness. But there's no room for kindness in your world. You've learned that long ago. There's no room for softness, no space for trust. Still, you find yourself standing, moving towards the corner of the room where a pile of old blankets lies in a heap. The floor is hard, the cold creeping up through the cracks in the wooden planks, but it's more than you had just hours ago. You curl up on the floor, pulling the blankets around you, feeling their scratchy, worn texture against your skin. It's uncomfortable, but at least you're not on the streets tonight. For a few moments, there's no sound but the faint rustling of fabric and the distant noises of the city beyond the walls. The man doesn't speak again. You don't know if he's going to sleep, if he's going to leave, but you don't dare ask. It's enough for now to simply be out of the cold. You try to close your eyes, but sleep doesn't come easily. Every time you start to drift off, you're pulled back into consciousness by the slightest noise, the creak of the floorboards, the rasp of a breath, the soft shuffle of footsteps. You're tense, your body coiled tight with unease, unable to fully relax. The man's presence in the room is unsettling. You can't explain why, but something about it feels wrong. It's not just his silence, it's the way he watches you when he thinks you're not looking. You can feel his eyes on your back, even as you try to close your eyes. You've always been hyper aware of those around you, but with him, it's different. He's a stranger, yet you're in his space, at his mercy. Still, there's no escape now. You're trapped here for the night, at least until morning. You've come too far, and there's nowhere else to go. You close your eyes tightly, hoping that the rest of the night will pass without incident, that nothing terrible will happen to you in this strange, unfamiliar place. But even as sleep begins to pull at the edges of your mind, you can't shake the feeling that something is coming, something worse than what you've already endured. You don't know what it is, but you feel it deep inside, like a warning, a premonition of something dark on the horizon. You wake to the sound of the city beyond the walls. The distant clamor of life outside seeps through the cracks, reminding you of the world you'll have to return to soon. But for now, there's a strange kind of stillness in the air, a moment of quiet respite that feels foreign, almost unnatural. You lie on the cold floor, covered by the scratchy blankets that smell faintly of mildew, trying to hold on to this fleeting moment of peace. Your body aches from the hard surface beneath you, the roughness of the floor pressing against your bones. It's not the first time you've slept in such a position, and it certainly won't be the last, but it still feels like a new level of discomfort. The familiarity of the pain is a strange comfort in itself. At least it's something you can understand. It's something you can endure. As you lie there, staring at the ceiling, your mind begins to wander. The man who gave you food, who offered you shelter for the night, has disappeared into the other room. You can't hear any movement from his side of the building, and for a moment, you wonder if he's gone altogether. Maybe he just left, uninterested in keeping his promise. Maybe it was all a game to him, a way to draw you in before casting you back into the streets. You don't know why it bothers you, but the thought settles in your stomach, heavy and unpleasant. It's better not to trust anyone, you remind yourself. You've learned that much. The hunger gnaws at you again, stronger now. The bread you ate yesterday seems like a distant memory, as if it never truly satisfied you. Your stomach rumbles, and you sigh. It's a constant companion, one that never truly leaves, only waits to remind you of the hole inside that no food can fill. Even the scraps that pass as sustenance never seem to do more than stave off the worst of it. You sit up slowly, the blanket falling from your shoulders as you stretch stiff muscles. The small room is dim, the candle from last night flickering weakly in the corner. The air is thick, heavy with the smell of damp wood and old dust. It's a far cry from the cleanliness you've been promised in fleeting moments of daydreams, where the world isn't tainted by sweat, blood, and fear. You glance around, taking in the surroundings more clearly now. The room is sparsely furnished, with only the barest essentials: a small table, two chairs, and a single shelf of dusty items. It's not much, but in your world, it might as well be a palace. You rise to your feet, moving quietly toward the small window at the far end of the room. It's grimy, the glass nearly opaque from years of neglect. You can't see much, but the murmur of voices and the shuffle of footsteps beyond the walls tell you that the day is already well underway. The world outside never sleeps. It's a constant churn of people, all moving through the motions, none of them stopping to consider the lives that go unnoticed in the shadows. You reach for the door, hesitant for just a moment. You've spent so much of your life trying to stay invisible, to avoid being noticed, and yet here you are in a stranger's home, relying on his generosity or perhaps his need for something. You wonder briefly if you're making a mistake, if this man's kindness is just another form of manipulation, a way to draw you in before taking something you're not ready to give. The world has taught you to question every gesture, every smile, every word, but you can't afford to question it too much. Not today. You need food. You need to make it through another day. You step into the hallway, the floorboards creaking beneath your feet. There's no sign of the man, and for a moment, you're unsure where he's gone. The building feels abandoned, like something that's been left to fall apart in the wake of a storm. The rooms are sparsely furnished, just as the one you woke in was. But there's a different quality to the silence here, something oppressive and heavy. The walls seem to press in, and the dimness makes everything feel even more suffocating. You move cautiously down the hall, your heart racing as you wonder if you're trespassing in a place that wasn't meant for you. The thought nags at the back of your mind, but you push it aside. You can't afford to waste time. You need to find the man. You need to find a way to get by. The door at the end of the hall is ajar, and you push it open, your heart pounding in your chest. Inside, you find the man sitting at a small wooden table, his face obscured by his hands. For a moment, you wonder if he's asleep or if he's deep in thought. But when you step closer, you can see that he's not asleep at all. His fingers are pressed tightly to his face, as if he's trying to block out something that's too painful to bear. He doesn't notice you at first. You hesitate at the door frame, unsure of what to do. It's strange, this feeling of being out of place in a room that you're meant to be in. You don't know if you're intruding or if you're meant to stay. There's something in the air between you that's unreadable, a tension that fills the space, thick and unspoken. When he finally looks up, his eyes meet yours, but there's something distant about his gaze. His expression is unreadable, a mix of weariness and something else, something you can't quite place. You feel a sudden discomfort, an overwhelming sense that you don't belong here, that this place, this room, this moment was never meant for you. He stands up slowly, pushing the chair back with a scrape that echoes in the silence. You flinch at the noise, your breath catching in your throat. "You're awake," he says, his voice strangely flat, as if the energy had been drained from it overnight. You nod, unsure of what to say. There's nothing to say, really. Words don't matter when you're simply trying to survive, when you've been reduced to a series of transactions, fleeting moments of kindness that always come with a price. Stay as long as you need, he adds, but the words feel hollow now. You hear the same emptiness in his voice that you've heard in your own over the years. The promises of safety, of shelter, always come with the understanding that they aren't free. No one in this world gives something without expecting something in return. And you wonder, in the pit of your stomach, what he expects from you. But you don't ask. You can't afford to ask. You need to survive. You need to eat, to sleep, to make it through another day. The door to the outside world is open, and you know you must step through it. But even as you prepare to leave, to face another day on the streets, you can't help but wonder what price you'll pay for the shelter you've been given, for the food you've eaten, for the fleeting moment of peace that will surely fade before long. You stand in the small, dim room, the door to the outside world left ajar behind you, the bitter winds of the city creeping into the space, reminding you of the cold, unforgiving streets beyond. For a moment, you almost wish the door would slam shut, trapping you in the warmth of this strange refuge, keeping you safe from what awaits you outside. But you know better than to believe in the illusion of safety. You've learned that nothing lasts forever, and the longer you stay in one place, the greater the risk of someone coming to take what you've been offered. The man doesn't move, his eyes still fixed on you with that distant, unreadable expression. His face is shadowed, tired, as if he carries more burdens than he's willing to share. His gaze seems to search you, probing, trying to see through the layers you've carefully built up to protect yourself. But you're not foolish enough to believe that this moment of shelter, of apparent kindness, is anything more than a temporary pause in the relentless churn of life. You know you can't stay here forever, and yet the warmth of the room pulls at you, like a brief taste of something more than just survival. The bread from the night before, the slight relief from hunger, still lingers in your stomach, like a shadow of something better. Your body is still aching, still tight from the weariness of constant movement, but for the first time in ages, you don't feel the crushing weight of imminent danger pressing in on you. But then your thoughts turn back to the streets, to the place where survival is not a luxury, but a fight. In that world, kindness is a rare currency, and when you receive it, there's always a price, and you don't know what the price will be here yet. The man clears his throat, breaking the silence that has settled between you like dust. It's a sound that startles you, reminding you that you're not alone, that your safety here isn't guaranteed. You can't stay here forever, he says, his voice low, almost resigned. There's no malice in his tone, but it's the truth you already know. You can't stay here. No one can. There's no permanence in your life, only the endless march of days that stretch ahead of you, each one just as bleak and uncertain as the last. I know, you reply, your voice quieter than you meant it to be. You try to muster some strength, to sound more certain, but it's hard. The truth hangs heavy on your tongue, and the weight of it almost crushes you. You know that your time here is limited, that it's a temporary reprieve, but you also know that you can't leave just yet. You need the rest. You need the moment of peace, however brief it might be. The man doesn't say anything more. He simply watches you as if waiting for you to make the next move. And for a long moment, you do nothing but stand there, staring back at him, both of you suspended in that strange liminal space where nothing feels real, and yet everything feels too real at the same time. The silence between you is no longer comforting, but suffocating, pressing down on you like the weight of the world itself. Finally, he turns away from you, moving toward the window. His movements are slow, deliberate, as if he's not entirely sure what to do next either. The room is small, cramped, and there's nothing left to say. You know this. You can feel it in the way your stomach twists, in the way your limbs feel stiff from lying on the floor for too long. You have to leave. You can't afford to linger. I'll go, you say, your voice steady now, though your heart is anything but. You make the decision before the man can offer you anything else. This is the world you know. You can't afford to trust anyone for too long, not even for something as simple as a place to sleep. The man doesn't stop you. He just nods, his back still turned to you as he watches the world outside. You gather your things, the thin bundle of belongings that make up your entire world. A few scraps of clothing, a tattered shawl, a handful of coins. There's nothing left here for you, nothing that will change your fate. You walk to the door, your hand brushing against the worn wood, and for the briefest moment, you consider turning back, staying for just a little longer. But the thought fades as quickly as it comes. You step outside into the cold, and the door closes softly behind you. The world hits you like a punch in the gut, the noise and the chaos of the streets overwhelming you. The bitter wind stings your face, the sense of food and decay mingling in the air. The people on the street are no different than they were the day before, moving with a purpose that doesn't include you. You're just another body among them, another piece of the backdrop in a world that doesn't care about you. But now, as you stand at the edge of the street, there's a new feeling inside you, one that's unfamiliar and unsettling. For the first time in what feels like forever, you had a moment of comfort. It was fleeting, but it was there, and it makes the world outside feel even more unforgiving. You pull your shawl tighter around your shoulders, the fabric too thin to truly protect you from the cold. But it's the best you can do. You move forward, your steps quick and measured. You know that you can't afford to slow down. The street is full of strangers, their faces a blur as they pass you by. No one notices you, and that's how it's supposed to be. You make your way toward the market square, knowing it will be bustling soon. The men will be there, looking for something to take, something to satisfy their hunger. You know your place in this world, and it's not as a person. It's as a thing to be bought and sold. You've learned to accept that. It's not easy, but it's survival, and survival is all you have left. As you walk, the fleeting moment of kindness, the warmth from the night before, begins to fade from your memory, swallowed up by the harshness of the present. It wasn't real, not really, not for someone like you. Nothing ever is. The world moves on around you, indifferent to your existence, and you keep walking, the weight of your survival pressing down on you with every step. The streets are already beginning to fill with people as you move through the market square. The air is bitter with the smell of rotting food, burning wood, and the unwashed bodies of the city's poor. You pull your shawl tighter around your shoulders, though it offers little protection against the cold wind. Your stomach growls again, its insistent reminder that your hunger has not been sated, that no matter how long you wait or how much you push it to the back of your mind, it will never disappear. It's your constant companion, the gnawing ache of survival. You move swiftly through the crowd, avoiding the gaze of anyone who might take interest in you. In this world, the moment you make yourself known is the moment you lose your power. You've learned that lesson the hard way. The people here, the men and women alike, all seem to have one thing in common. They're all just trying to get by. Some of them are more desperate than others, but none of them have room for anything but survival. As you pass through the square, you notice a familiar face, a woman who is standing near one of the fruit stalls. She's older than you, but not by much. Her face is worn, as if the years have been unkind to her. Her clothes are threadbare, and her hair is tangled and unkempt. She catches sight of you, and for a moment, there's a flicker of recognition in her eyes, followed by something else. Pity? Disdain? You can't quite tell, but you know that look. It's the same one you've seen from men and women alike, a look that says, I know what you are, and I'm not going to make it any easier for you. You pause, unsure of what to do. You know what this woman represents. She's one of you, another of the women who sell themselves on the streets for survival. You've seen her before, always in the same place, always in the same tattered clothes, with the same weary expression. But there's a certain distance between the two of you. You're all part of the same system, all fighting to survive. But there's a hierarchy even among the women in the market. Some of you are more desperate than others, some more vulnerable, some older or younger, but none of you are truly free. You're all just trapped in the same cycle, the same desperate race for survival. As if reading your mind, the woman gives you a nod, the smallest of gestures, as if acknowledging that you've both been through the same thing. It's a brief moment of solidarity, but it's all that you need. In this world, a nod can mean more than words. You move toward her, your feet heavy with the weight of the day ahead. The market is busy now, full of men looking for something to take. Some of them are drunk, others tired, others still hungry for the kind of release that only women like you can provide. You know your place in this world, but it doesn't make it any easier to accept. When you reach the woman, she glances at you with a brief, unreadable expression. She looks you up and down, assessing you, and then, without a word, she pulls a small, battered coin from her pocket and hands it to you. Go get yourself something to eat, she says, her voice low and rough. You look like you haven't had a decent meal in days. You blink, taken aback by the offer. It's not much, just a coin, the same coin that's probably worth less than the meal it will buy, but it's more than you had before, more than you expected. You take it from her without saying anything, the weight of the small coin somehow heavier than its value. You don't know what to say. You never know what to say. There's something about her gesture, the way she sees you and recognizes your struggle, that feels both comforting and painful at the same time. Thank you say quietly, your voice almost a whisper. She nods, looking away before turning back to the stall. She doesn't need your thanks, and you don't need hers. You both understand the unspoken rule: survival comes first, and everything else is secondary. There's no room for niceties in a world like this. You turn away, your fingers closing around the coin as if it might slip away from you at any moment. You're already looking for the food vendors when you hear the sounds of shouting coming from the far end of the square. You turn to see a group of men gathered around one of the women, her back pressed against the wall as they hurl insults at her. The woman is smaller than you, frailer, and the men are pushing her around, their hands on her, grabbing at her clothes and her body. You don't move immediately. You know better than to get involved. You've seen this before, countless times. The violence, the cruelty that men inflict on women like you is a constant presence in your life. Sometimes it's worse than others, but it's always there, lurking just beneath the surface. You've learned to step aside, to pretend you don't see it, to pretend that it's not your problem. But today, something shifts in you. Maybe it's the exhaustion or the lingering warmth from the meal the man gave you, or maybe it's just the fact that you're tired of feeling like nothing more than an object. Whatever it is, you can't stand there and do nothing. You can't be silent. You move toward the group, your steps deliberate but slow. You know what will happen if you're not careful, if you're too brash. But you also know that if you stay silent, you're just as guilty as the men who think they can get away with whatever they want. You push your way through the crowd, your heart pounding in your chest. Hey, you shout, your voice cutting through the noise. Leave her alone. The men turn toward you, their eyes narrowing, sneers forming on their faces. The woman at the wall looks up at you, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. She doesn't understand why you're intervening, doesn't know if you're here to help or just make things worse. Mind your own business, bitch, one of the men growls. He's larger than the others, his fists clenched at his sides as he glares at you. She's asking for it. It's not like anyone cares what happens to her. You can feel the anger rising in your chest, the injustice of it all, the way men like him treat women like disposable things, and you want to scream. You want to tear into him, to make him understand how wrong he is. But you know better. You've seen how quickly violence can turn. You've learned how to hold your tongue, how to avoid confrontation, how to slip through life unnoticed. But this time, you can't. You don't get to do this, you say, your voice shaking with rage. You don't get to take what's not yours. For a moment, there's only silence. The men look at you, their faces twisted in surprise, as if they didn't expect you to stand up for her, to challenge them. It's a rare thing, this small act of defiance, but you know it won't last. You know that nothing will change, that this woman will still be pushed around, that these men will still get away with whatever they want. But you also know that you can't stay silent anymore. The group of men grumbles under their breath, their faces darkening, but they step back. It's a small victory, but it's enough. The woman at the wall doesn't say anything, but you can see the relief in her eyes. For a moment, she's not just a victim. For a moment, she's a person again. You give her a nod, acknowledging the silent exchange between you before turning away. The men will not forget your face, but you've done what you could. You've shown her that she isn't completely alone in this world. Maybe that's enough. You step away, your hand still clutching the coin, and head toward the food vendors. The market continues to swirl around you, the chaos of the day pushing forward with no regard for the lives of the people who make up its backdrop. But you can't forget what just happened, what you just did. It won't make the world a better place, but for a fleeting moment, you were able to resist. You were able to show someone that they were worth something. And maybe, just maybe, that's worth more than survival. The day drags on, and with every passing hour, the hunger in your stomach grows louder. The sounds of the market blur into a dull roar as you stand at the food stall, trying not to appear too desperate. The coin clutched tightly in your hand feels heavier now, like a burden, a reminder of the frailty of kindness in a world like this. It's not much, not enough to change anything, but it's something. You've learned that even the smallest things can mean the difference between surviving and slipping further into the darkness. The vendor behind the stall is a stocky man, his face as greasy as the meats he sells. He barely looks up as you approach, too focused on slicing a hunk of raw beef to pay attention to you. You place the coin on the counter, and his eyes flicker to it for the briefest moment, just long enough to assess its value before he picks it up. Is this all? He asks gruffly, his voice rough with the wear of years spent shouting over the market noise. You nod, biting back the words that want to rise in your throat, the bitter, desperate need to beg for just a little more. It's all I have, you answer quietly. The words feel hollow, like a confession, and you quickly look away, unable to meet his gaze, for fear of the pity you might see there. But the man doesn't seem to care. He tosses the coin into a small jar at his side and hands you a meager portion of bread, some stale crusts, and bits of cheese. Here, don't spend it all in one place, he grunts. The words are meant as a joke, but they fall flat, like everything else in this market. The humor is lost on you, and you take the bread and cheese without saying anything, the weight of it not nearly enough to ease the aching emptiness inside. But it's better than nothing. You'll make do, you always do. You turn away from the stall and move to the side of the market square, finding a quiet corner where you can eat in peace. The world continues to swirl around you, the vendors shouting, the children playing, the clattering of carts, and the constant hum of human voices. It's as if nothing ever changes, as if you are invisible in the sea of bodies that pass through this space every day. You break off a piece of bread, the dry texture catching in your throat as you chew. The cheese is no better, salty and hard, but it's food. That's all that matters right now. As you eat, your eyes scan the market, looking for any sign of opportunity, any man who might be looking for someone like you. But there are no obvious candidates, no one standing alone, no one looking too long at you. You chew slowly, feeling the hunger slowly ease, but it never fully disappears. It's a gnawing, constant ache that lingers in the background of every moment. For a brief moment, you feel a flicker of something like peace. The world seems to fade into the distance, the noise becoming a dull hum, the crowd blurring together into a single mass of movement. You can almost imagine, for just a moment, that you're not here, that you're somewhere else entirely, somewhere where you're not just another body passing through the world, where you don't have to fight for every scrap of survival. But the feeling doesn't last long. It never does. The noise of the market grows louder as a group of men approach, their laughter boisterous and cruel, their voices rising above the others in the square. They pass by, their eyes scanning the women in the area, the ones standing too close to the stalls, the ones too desperate to be overlooked. You know what they're looking for. You know what they'll ask for. You know what they'll expect in exchange for the few coins they're willing to offer. The bread sits heavy in your stomach now, though it does little to comfort you. The cycle continues: hunger, survival, and then the inevitable transaction. You try to ignore the gnawing fear in the back of your mind, the way your body tenses when you see men like this. They move with a purpose, and that purpose is you. You glance back at the group of men, and one of them locks eyes with you. There's something predatory in the way his gaze settles on you, like a shark spotting prey. You've seen it before, the way they look at you like you're nothing more than a means to an end, a commodity to be used. It's not even about desire, not really. It's about control, power, the ability to take what they want with no consequences. You can feel the weight of his gaze on you as he steps closer, and your heart skips a beat. There's no choice now. He's noticed you, and the longer you hesitate, the more likely it is he'll become angry. You've seen that too, when men are ignored or turned away. They don't take kindly to rejection. The man stops in front of you, his eyes narrowing as he takes in your appearance, scanning you as if you're nothing more than a piece of meat to be appraised. His breath smells of ale, and his clothes are stained with what you can only guess are remnants of yesterday's meal. Well, well, he says with a leer, aren't you a pretty little thing? You don't respond. You don't have to. The words that aren't meant to engage you, they're meant to diminish you, to remind you that he has the power here, not you, that you're nothing but an object to be bargained for. He steps closer, and the stench of alcohol and sweat fills your nostrils. Your stomach turns, and you swallow hard, trying to push the rising panic down. How much? He asks. His voice is thick, heavy with drink, and it makes your skin crawl. He doesn't ask you with any tenderness, any hint of politeness. His words are a command, not a question. He doesn't care who you are, what you've been through, or whether you're willing. He only cares that you're here and that you're available. The choice is clear. You can refuse him and face the consequences of his anger, or you can accept, let him take what he wants, and get through the transaction. It's the same cycle you've been stuck in for so long. I'm not interested, you say quietly, your voice barely audible above the din of the market. You've said it before, and you'll say it again. It's not a choice you have, really. It's just a survival tactic, one that buys you a few moments of time. The man's face hardens, his eyes narrowing in a way that makes your heart race. You know what's coming next. You know how it always goes. He doesn't like being refused. He's not used to being told no. You sure about that? He growls, his voice thick with anger. His hand reaches out to grab your arm, his fingers digging into your skin like claws. The grip is tight, painful, and you bite back a gasp. Before he can pull you away, you hear a voice, another woman's voice, shout from across the square. Hey, get your hands off her! The man turns, his grip loosening for just a moment as the woman strides over, her face a mask of fury. She's older than you, her body weathered by the same hardships, but there's a fire in her eyes that you recognize. She's not afraid to stand up to him. You don't get to touch her, the woman says firmly. Not while I'm here. There's a brief moment of tension as the man glares at her, his lips curling into a snarl. But then, without another word, he releases you, shoving you back with a growl of frustration. Don't make me waste my time with you, bitch, he mutters, before turning and stalking away. The woman stands in front of you, her chest heaving with the adrenaline of the confrontation. She's breathing heavily, her expression one of quiet triumph. For a moment, neither of you speaks. Are you all right? She asks after a long pause. You nod, still shaken by the encounter, but grateful for the intervention. Yeah, I'm fine. She gives you a small smile, but it's tinged with sadness. You're lucky. Not all of us get that kind of help. Her eyes flicker toward the street, and you know she's seen the same things you have, the same helplessness, the same fear, the same violence. But for now, you've survived, and that's all that matters. The brief encounter with the woman in the square leaves you feeling disoriented, your thoughts swirling in a confused haze. You try to shake it off as you stand there, watching the man stalk off into the crowd. For a moment, everything feels unreal, the way the world can shift so quickly, how a single action can break the monotony of survival. The woman's intervention was sudden, but it was effective, forcing the man to back off with just a few words and a stare that was sharp, with the kind of anger you rarely see from people in this place. She stands there for a moment, watching you, and you realize how close the two of you have come to something important. A shared moment of defiance. It's fleeting, like everything else in this world, but it leaves an odd, almost foreign feeling in your chest, a strange blend of hope and exhaustion. But then the reality of your life returns, hard and fast. It's just one moment, one brief break in the endless grind. She doesn't speak immediately. Instead, she watches the man as he fades into the crowd, disappearing into the stream of bodies moving through the market. She's not interested in being thanked, and neither are you. You've both been through too much for the simple exchange of pleasantries. The woman turns back to you after a few moments, her eyes still sharp, assessing. She's probably seen more violence than you could imagine. You wonder how many times she's stood up to men like him, how many times she's fought for herself when no one else would. You're lucky, she says, her voice rough with experience, not sympathy. Not all men take kindly to being ignored. Not all of them will let you go so easily. You nod, knowing exactly what she means. The violence is always there, a constant undercurrent of the world you live in. Some days, you're lucky enough to walk away, but there are days when things turn ugly, when the violence becomes too much to avoid. You've seen women in worse situations, some who didn't make it out, others who were left broken by the brutality of the men who thought they had the right to claim them. But for now, you've survived. The woman looks at you, her eyes softening slightly. Don't forget that, she adds. Sometimes they're quick to strike back when they feel like they've lost control. You did well standing up for yourself, but it's not always enough. You don't know how to respond to that. You don't have the words, not for her and not for yourself. Her warning hangs in the air between you both, a grim reminder of the violence that is a permanent fixture of your life. It's a warning that you already know too well, one that's been etched into your body and soul through years of survival in a world that doesn't care. Thanks, you say finally, the words coming out more out of habit than anything else. You don't know what else to say, and you don't need to. In this place, words are often just a way to fill the silence, not to convey any real meaning. The gesture itself, the act of standing between you and that man, is enough. You're not alone, not for this moment. The woman gives you a brief nod, her face hardening again, like she's already ready to move on. She's not here to make friends. Neither are you. You both know that what happened just now won't change anything in the grand scheme of things. It won't stop the cycle, the endless struggle for survival. But for a brief moment, you're not just a thing to be used. You're a person, and someone noticed that. You stand there for a few more seconds, unsure of what to do next. The noise of the market comes back to you, the world resuming its chaotic rhythm as if nothing happened, as if everything is just as it was before. The woman's intervention hasn't changed anything about your life. Not really. You're still a part of the market, still a part of this world that sees you as nothing more than a body to be used. But in this moment, you feel like you matter, if only for a second. The woman turns away and walks off, leaving you standing there, unsure of whether to follow her or not. You watch her disappear into the crowd, a fleeting figure in the sea of people. She moves quickly, deliberately, as if she's learned to avoid being noticed, just like you. You wonder what her life is like, what it's been like. You wonder if she's been where you've been, if she's endured the same kind of hardships, the same kind of brokenness. She's probably seen it all, and yet she still stands. She still fights. For a long moment, you stand there, staring at the spot where she disappeared, feeling the weight of everything. But then you remember the man from earlier, the one who almost took you, the one who had grabbed your arm. His face lingers in your mind, his cruel sneer, the way his hands felt around your wrist. That same desperation, that same hunger for control, and you realize that he's not gone. Not really. He'll be back, just like all the others. The hunger never truly fades. It always comes back, like the rising tide that never stops. You force yourself to move, to put one foot in front of the other. There's nothing else you can do. The day is still ahead of you, and survival requires you to keep moving, to keep looking for that next moment of opportunity. You don't know where it will come from, but you know it will come eventually. It always does. The only question is how much longer you'll have to wait for it. You walk through the market again, keeping your eyes down, keeping yourself small and unnoticed. The other women are out in full force now, standing on the edges of the stalls, offering themselves to the men who pass by. Some of them are older, their faces tired and worn, their bodies showing the signs of years spent in this same battle. Others are younger, their eyes still wide with the fear and hope that comes with being new to this life. You wonder how many of them are like you, how many of them have stories that echo your own. As you move past them, you catch sight of one of the younger women, standing by the side of the market, her eyes darting nervously between the men who pass by. She looks like a deer caught in headlights, unsure of how to begin, unsure of what comes next. You see the fear in her eyes, the same fear that once filled your own when you were new to this world, when you didn't know how to survive and didn't know how to hide the desperation on your face. For a brief moment, you think about walking up to her, offering her some advice, telling her that it gets easier, that she'll learn how to hide the fear and make herself less visible to the men who are always looking for someone to take. But you don't. You don't have the words, and you know that telling her anything won't change her fate. You've learned that lesson too many times. The world doesn't care about what you say, it only cares about what you can give. You keep walking. The hunger is there, gnawing at you again, but you ignore it. It's always there, always lurking, the cold in the air, the smell of sweat, the shouting of the vendors, and the laughter of the men. Everything blurs together into a dull hum. You've seen this before. You'll see it again. It's the endless cycle, and you're just another part of it. And so you move through it, as you always do, always surviving, always waiting for the next moment of reprieve. The day drags on, as it always does. You move through the market square, your feet dragging, your eyes scanning the crowd for any sign of opportunity, any sign of a way out of this cycle. The men are still here, still watching, still looking for someone to take, and the women are still standing at the edges, offering themselves, hoping for something more than just survival. You can see the fear in their eyes, just as you feel it in your own chest. The fear that comes with knowing that no matter how many times you do this, no matter how many men you satisfy, nothing ever really changes. The hunger gnaws at you again. It always does, but you've learned not to let it control you. You've learned to ignore it, to push it down deep inside where it won't show. It's the only way you can survive, by hiding the truth, by pretending that you're okay, that you don't need more than the scraps that life gives you. But the hunger is always there, always threatening to overwhelm you when you let your guard down. You stop in front of a food stall, pretending to browse the small selection of stale bread and dried meats. The vendor doesn't look at you, doesn't acknowledge you in any way. That's how it is here. Everyone too wrapped up in their own survival to notice anyone else. You can't afford to stand out. You can't afford to attract attention. You turn away from the stall, your stomach still growling, and begin to move again. The city feels suffocating today, the walls of the market pressing in on you as you navigate the sea of bodies. There's nowhere to hide here, nowhere to escape. Every face you pass is a reminder that you're stuck in this endless cycle, trapped by your circumstances, by the weight of the world. You need to find somewhere to sleep for the night. You know you won't be able to last much longer on the streets. The cold will be unbearable, and the hunger will eventually overwhelm you if you don't find shelter soon. You've learned to seek out places where no one else goes, where the risk of being caught is lower. You know the back alleys, the abandoned buildings, the forgotten corners of the city where you can sleep for a few hours without worrying about being attacked. But even there, there's no real safety. It's just a temporary reprieve, a moment of rest before the cycle starts again. As you make your way through the market, you pass a group of men gathered around a fire, talking and laughing. You catch a glimpse of their faces, their eyes half lidded with drink, their rough voices rising above the noise of the square. They don't notice you, don't see you at all. It's the best kind of anonymity you can hope for in this place. You slip past them, avoiding their gaze, keeping your body turned away so that they won't even know you were there. But as you continue walking, you catch sight of something that makes your stomach tighten, makes your heart stutter in your chest. A familiar face, one that you haven't seen in a long time. It's a man, older than most of the others in the market, his face scarred by years of hard living. You've seen him before, back in the days when you had a different life, a different identity, one that feels like it belongs to someone else now. His name was once something important to you, a name that now feels distant, like a ghost from another time. You've avoided him for years, kept your distance from him and everyone else who might remind you of the life you used to have. But now, standing in front of you, he's impossible to ignore. He doesn't see you at first. His back is turned and he's talking to someone else, his voice low and gruff. But you know him. You know that face, those eyes, the way his body moves. And for a moment, you freeze, your feet rooted to the spot. It's as if the ground has shifted beneath you and the world is suddenly something you can't control. You remember him clearly, the way he used to hold you, the way his touch used to feel like safety, like love. But that was before the world turned cold. That was before everything changed, before you were forced to let go of everything you had once known. You've kept your distance from him ever since, not because you don't still feel the pull of the past, but because you know what he represents. He represents a life that you can never go back to, a life that was never really yours to begin with. You want to turn and walk away. You want to disappear into the crowd, to leave him behind, just like you've left everything else. But you can't move. You can't just walk away from the ghosts of your past, not when they're standing right in front of you. The memory of him stirs something in you, something deep and painful that you've buried for so long. It's the kind of pain that comes from remembering what you've lost, remembering what you'll never have again. Your heart beats faster, your breath quickening as you consider your options. You could pretend you didn't see him. You could walk away, disappear into the market, and never look back. You've done it before. You've walked away from people, from everything that tried to pull you back into a life you can't return to. But there's something about him, something about the way he stands there, so familiar and foreign at the same time, that makes it impossible to ignore him. You don't know why, but you find yourself walking toward him, your feet moving of their own accord, pulling you closer to the past you thought you'd left behind. He turns as you approach, his eyes meeting yours, and for a moment, everything stops. The noise of the market fades away. The crowd blurs around you. It's just him, and it's just you, standing there in the middle of everything. His face hardens when he sees you, his expression unreadable. For a moment, he looks like he might say something, but then the words seem to get stuck in his throat. You both stand there, neither of you knowing what to say. You've been avoiding me, he says finally, his voice low, rough. It's not a question, but a statement. You don't know how to respond. You've been avoiding him for years, and you don't have any good explanation for why. You could tell him that you're not the person he used to know, that you're not the woman he remembers, but the words don't come. I didn't think I'd see you here, he adds, his eyes flicking to the side, as if he's searching for something else in the crowded market. You try to speak, but your voice catches in your throat. I didn't think I'd see you either. There's an awkward pause between you, the weight of everything unsaid hanging in the air. You feel the old ache of familiarity, the memories of what you once had with him. You were once something more than just a body to be used. But now, you're not sure who either of you are anymore. He takes a step toward you, his hand reaching out as if to touch you, but he stops short, his fingers hovering in the air between you. For a moment, it feels like everything has stopped, like time has frozen, and you can go back to the way things were. But the moment passes, just as it always does. You're not that person anymore, and neither is he. I can't, you say quietly, the words slipping out before you can stop them. I can't go back. He doesn't answer. He just stands there, his hand still hovering in the air, his eyes locked on yours. And for a long time, neither of you moves. Finally, he pulls his hand back and steps away from you. I didn't think you would, he says, his voice thick with regret. And then, without another word, he turns and walks away, disappearing into the crowd as if he was never really there. You stand there for a long time, your mind a jumble of memories and emotions you can't process. The ache in your chest is almost unbearable, but you've learned not to dwell on it. The past is gone, and the only thing that matters now is survival. The world doesn't stop for your pain. It doesn't stop for anything. And so you keep moving. You have to. You don't know how much longer you can survive in this place, but you know that you can't afford to stop. The market feels quieter now, the noise of the crowd a low hum in your ears as you try to push away the emotions that are clawing at the edges of your mind. The moment with him, the man from your past, lingers in your thoughts, his words echoing in your chest. He had been a part of your life once, someone who had held you close, who had promised you something more than this. But that life is long gone, buried beneath years of survival, buried beneath the weight of your choices. You force yourself to breathe, to focus. The market is still here, still bustling, still filled with the same faces you've seen for years. Men who look for what they can take, women who sell what they have to give. It's a never ending cycle, one you've been trapped in since you were old enough to understand how to survive. You can't afford to dwell on the past. Not now, not when there's so much left to do. You've learned this lesson well, the hard way. There's no room for sentiment in a world like this. Sentiment doesn't keep you warm at night. Sentiment doesn't fill your stomach. Sentiment doesn't keep you safe. You keep moving through the square, trying to shake off the weight of the past. The hunger gnaws at you again, but you try to ignore it. You've learned to push hunger down, to silence it, to keep moving until you can find something to satisfy it, something to keep you going. The women on the edges of the square are doing the same thing, though each of them has their own story, their own reasons for being here. Some of them are older, their faces lined with the years of this hard life. Others are younger, their eyes still wide with fear and hope, hoping that this moment, this man, this transaction will be different, but it never is. It never changes. You find a corner of the square where you can stand out of the way, watching the ebb and flow of the crowd. You try to disappear into the background, trying to blend in with the others. You've done this so many times that it's become second nature. You don't make eye contact. Don't engage with anyone unless it's absolutely necessary. You know how to survive here. You've been doing it for years. The man from earlier, the one who almost took you, haunts you. His face is burned into your memory, a reminder of how quickly things can turn in this world. You could have said yes. You could have given in, just like you've done so many times before. But this time, something inside you snapped. You couldn't go through with it. Not with him, not with anyone, not today. You don't know why. Maybe it's because of the woman in the square, the one who helped you, the one who reminded you that there's still a spark of something inside you, something that doesn't want to be used up and discarded. Maybe it's because of the man from your past, the one who once held you, once cared for you. Maybe it's because for once, you didn't want to be invisible. For once, though, you didn't want to let someone take what they wanted without a fight. You look around the square again, trying to distract yourself from the thoughts that threaten to overwhelm you. A man in a dark cloak is walking towards you, his eyes scanning the crowd, his face hidden beneath the hood. There's something about him that makes you pause, something that makes your instincts go on alert. You don't know why, but you feel the weight of his gaze even before he approaches. It's the same feeling you had with the man earlier, that sense of being seen as something disposable, something to be used. You can't afford to make a mistake today. You've made too many in the past. You've let yourself be used. Let yourself be sold for a few coins, for a few moments of warmth, of comfort. You've learned to trade your body for survival, to give up pieces of yourself, and you've paid the price for it. But you can't keep doing that. You can't keep living like this. You start to move away, to disappear into the crowd, but the man's eyes follow you, and you feel his presence like a weight pressing on your back. You know what he wants. You know the look in his eyes. He's sizing you up, deciding if you're worth his time, worth the price he's willing to pay. You can't go through this again. You can't. But you're trapped. There's nowhere to go, no escape from the suffocating pressure of the market, the weight of the city that holds you here. You can't outrun the hunger. You can't outrun the desperation that clings to you like a shadow. You stop moving. your heart hammering in your chest. He's getting closer now, his footsteps slow and deliberate, and you know that you have no choice. The game is the same every time. He's going to ask, and you'll have to make the decision. Do you give in and accept the transaction, or do you turn away, risk the anger, the violence, the consequences? The man stops in front of you, his eyes scanning you once more. There's no warmth in his gaze, no interest in who you are or what you've been through. There's only the need, the hunger, the power. Need a client? He asks, his voice low and smooth, like he's used to speaking this way, like he's done it 1,000 times before. You nod, keeping your voice steady, though your body is tense. What do you want? His eyes narrow slightly, and he leans in closer, the smell of alcohol and sweat filling the air between you. You fight the urge to pull away, to step back. You know how this works. You know what he's after. It's just a matter of how much you're willing to give him, how much you're willing to sacrifice to make it through the day. I'm looking for something different, he says, his voice almost a whisper. Something real. The words hang in the air between you, and for a moment, you're not sure if you've heard him correctly. Something real. What does that even mean? Something more than the usual transaction. Something that doesn't just strip you of your dignity, of your soul. You open your mouth to speak, but the words don't come. You're not sure what to say, not sure what to do. The hunger in your stomach roars again, louder now, making it hard to think clearly. You need the coins. You need to survive. You can't let this moment slip away, no matter how uncomfortable it makes you feel. He watches you for a long moment, as if waiting for you to make the decision. You feel the weight of it, the pressure building as the seconds stretch into what feels like hours. Finally, you speak, your voice barely more than a whisper. I'll do it, you say, but it'll cost you. The man's lips curl into a smile, but it's not a smile of warmth or satisfaction. It's a smile of victory, of conquest. He knows he's won. Everything costs, he says softly. And in that moment, you realize that the transaction is never just about the money. It's always about something more, always about control, always about power. And you wonder, in the quietest corner of your mind, if you've given up too much, if you've given him too much. But there's no turning back now. You stand there in the market, surrounded by the noise and movement of the crowd, and yet the world feels strangely quiet. The man's words still linger in the air, hanging like a thick fog that you can't seem to shake off. His offer, his look, it all makes your skin crawl, but you know what you have to do. Survival has never been about comfort, about dignity, or about hope. Survival is a trade, and you've been making that trade for as long as you can remember. The man waits for your response, his eyes locked on yours, as if daring you to back out, daring you to say no, but you know what will happen if you do. The consequences will be worse than the transaction. You'll be left to wander the streets, hungry, vulnerable, alone. You've learned that lesson far too many times. You know the price of refusal is always greater than the price of compliance. I'll do it, you say, your voice barely audible over the clamor of the market, but you can feel it reverberating inside you, making the blood rush to your head. It's a surrender, a quiet acceptance of the life you've been forced into. There's no room for negotiation, no room for dreams of something better. There's only this moment, this transaction, this weight that will never leave your shoulders. The man smiles, and it's not a smile of warmth, but of something darker, something predatory. It's the smile of someone who knows they have the upper hand, someone who has claimed what they wanted. It's a smile that makes your stomach churn, that makes you feel smaller, less than what you are. But there's nothing you can do. You've made your choice. He steps closer, and you can feel the space between you shrinking, his presence overwhelming, the smell of alcohol and sweat invading your senses. You want to pull away, to step back, but you can't. There's no escape. Not now, not here. We'll go somewhere more private, he says, his voice low and almost casual. It's the kind of tone that tells you he's done this before, that he's in control, that he knows exactly how this will play out. He doesn't see you as a person. He sees you as a transaction, a commodity, something to be used and then discarded. You nod, feeling the weight of the decision settle in your chest like a stone. The hunger is still there, still gnawing at you, but now there's something else, something heavier. You're not sure if it's shame or regret or something more primal, fear, maybe. It's a feeling you've tried to bury, but it's rising to the surface now, clawing its way through your defenses. You follow him through the market, through the crowded square, your feet moving on their own accord. The people around you are oblivious to what's happening, to the transaction that's unfolding. To them, you're just another face in the crowd, another woman selling what she has to survive. But inside, you're a thousand different things: conflicted, angry, desperate, resigned. You hate this, hate that you've been reduced to this. But you've learned not to fight it, not to resist. It only makes the pain worse. He leads you to a small, run-down building near the edge of the market, the kind of place that's seen better days, but still holds its place in the city's underbelly. It's quiet here, away from the noise of the square, away from the prying eyes of the people who would judge you if they knew what you were doing. You step inside, the air stale, thick with the scent of mildew and decay. The room is dim, with only a small window letting in the weak light of the afternoon. The man closes the door behind you with a soft click, the sound echoing in the small, cramped space. You stand there for a moment, not knowing what to do, not knowing how to make this feel anything less than what it is. You've done this so many times, but each time it's the same. There's no comfort in it, no solace. There's only the weight of survival pressing down on you, the knowledge that you've given something up for another day, for another moment of respite. He moves toward you, his eyes scanning your face, studying you like he's trying to figure out the cost, trying to figure out what he's getting for the price he's paying. You try not to let him see the anger that's building inside you, the anger that's always there, lurking just beneath the surface. You don't want to give him that satisfaction. You don't want him to see how much this hurts. Don't worry, he says, his voice dripping with condescension. This won't take long, just a quick transaction. You won't even feel it. The words are like a slap, and you flinch, even though you know better than to show weakness. It's all part of the game. You've learned how to play it, how to pretend that it doesn't matter, that you don't feel anything when they take what they want. But the truth is, it does matter. It always does. He steps closer, his breath hot against your skin, and for a moment, you close your eyes, trying to block out the reality of what's happening. You try to focus on something else, something that will take you away from this moment, but it's impossible. You can't escape. You can't hide. His hands are on you now, rough and demanding, and you let it happen. You've learned to let it happen. You don't have the luxury of fighting, of saying no. You just have to endure, just have to get through it. And when it's over, when it's all done, you'll move on, just like you always do. You'll survive, because that's what you do. You survive. The man finishes quickly, as promised. It's always quick. They don't care about you, about your body, about your needs. They only care about their own release, their own satisfaction. And once it's done, they'll leave, just as quickly as they came, leaving you with nothing but the remnants of the transaction, the emptiness that comes with it. He pulls away from you, his eyes already moving to the next thing, the next moment, the next transaction. You stand there, trying to hold yourself together, trying not to let the tears rise in your throat. You don't cry. You can't. Crying doesn't change anything. It only makes it worse. The man glances at you one last time before walking toward the door, his back already turned. You're free to go, he says dismissively, as if he's done you some great favor, as if you should be grateful. You don't respond. You don't say anything. You just stand there, numb, your body aching with the weight of what just happened. You leave the room without another word, your feet heavy on the floor, your heart heavy in your chest. The market square is still busy, still full of life, as if nothing has changed, as if everything is just as it was before. But you know it's not. You know that every transaction, every choice takes something from you, and you wonder, for the first time in a long time, how much more you can give before there's nothing left. The sun is beginning to set, the light fading as the shadows lengthen across the square. You're tired, you're hungry, you're empty, but you keep moving because that's all you can do. You have to survive. You don't have any other choice. The world outside feels like a blur as you step back into the market, the din of voices and the bustle of the crowd enveloping you like an endless tide. The ache in your chest is nearly unbearable, the sharp pangs of something more than just physical exhaustion. But there's no time for self pity, no room for weakness. You've learned that much, and you've learned it well. Weakness here isn't something to be tolerated, it's something to be exploited. You walk through the square, the ground beneath your feet, now a familiar rhythm of movement. Every step is the same, calculated, deliberate. You know where you're going, even if you don't want to know. The need for survival is driving you forward, propelling you through the crowd without a second thought. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter what you think. The only thing that matters is survival. The hunger gnaws at you again, but this time it's different. This time, it's not just the hunger for food, it's a hunger for something more, a hunger for escape, for meaning, for something, anything that doesn't involve this relentless cycle of giving pieces of yourself away for survival. But you know better than to dream of escape. Escape isn't for people like you. The world doesn't let people like you escape. The world swallows you whole and spits you back out when it's done. And all that's left is the hollow shell of who you once were. You try to push the thought away, try to focus on something else, but it keeps returning like a ghost, lurking in the back of your mind, haunting you when you least expect it. The man from your past, the woman in the square, the choices you've made, they all swirl around you, becoming a knot in your gut that you can't untangle. The market is still busy, the stalls full of food, trinkets, and wares that people barter for, the scent of rotting fruit and sweat hanging in the air. The men are still here, still scanning the crowd for something to take. The women are still waiting, their eyes empty, their bodies tired, their hopes dimming with each passing hour. You know their stories. You've heard them all, over and over again, each one a variation of your own. You pause for a moment, looking at the women, seeing the way they stand, their posture just slightly hunched, as if the weight of the world is pressing them down, forcing them into this routine of survival. There's a strange kind of solidarity among you all, but it's a solidarity born of necessity, not choice. Each of you is a piece of the same broken puzzle, each of you a victim of the same cruel system. One of the women catches your eye. She's younger than the others, her face still holding a trace of hope, though it's fading fast. You can see it in her eyes, the same thing you've seen in yourself at one point, the belief that somehow things will get better, that there's a way out. But you know the truth. You know how quickly that hope fades, how quickly it's crushed under the weight of reality. She walks past you, her eyes focused on the ground, her movements stiff. She doesn't look up. She doesn't see you. And for a moment, you're reminded of yourself when you were her age, when you still thought there was something to fight for, when you still believed that things could be different. But that was a long time ago. The hunger in your stomach intensifies again, and you realize that you're not just hungry for food. You're hungry for something more than survival, something more than just getting through the day, through the day. But you know that's a luxury you can't afford. Not here, not now. The thought of stopping, of trying to change anything, seems almost laughable. What good would it do? What would you even change? The world doesn't care about you, doesn't care about anyone like you. It never has. It never will. You walk deeper into the square, trying to find something, anything, that will fill the emptiness gnawing at your insides. You know you're not the only one feeling this way. You know the others around you are struggling too, each of them trapped in their own cycle of survival, just like you. Some of them are younger, some older, some are bolder, others more resigned. But they're all here, just like you, trying to make it through another day. You can feel the weight of their eyes on you, the silent judgment that follows you, the unspoken understanding that you're all part of the same broken system. You don't need to speak to them to know that they understand. They all understand. They all know the price you've paid and the price they'll keep paying as long as they stay here. But you can't think about them now. You can't think about anything other than getting through the day, getting through this moment. You need food. You need shelter. You need something to quiet the gnawing emptiness inside you, even if only for a little while. You pass the stalls again, the vendors shouting their prices, the men lingering by the edges of the square, waiting for someone to approach them. You see the usual faces, the usual people, each of them lost in their own routines, their own needs, but none of them see you. None of them see what's really going on beneath the surface, the endless struggle, the quiet desperation. And then you see him. It's hard to miss him, standing there by one of the stalls, his eyes scanning the crowd, looking for something, someone. He's older than most of the men who come through here, but there's something about him that makes you stop for a moment. He stands a little taller than the others, his clothes finer, his face unreadable. He doesn't look like he belongs here, and that alone makes him stand out. You don't want to approach him. You know what he's here for, but something in the back of your mind tells you that you don't have a choice. Not today. Not with the hunger clawing at you. Not with the weight of everything pressing down on you. You take a deep breath and walk toward him, your steps slow and deliberate, trying to keep your composure, trying to pretend that this is just another day, just another transaction. But as you get closer, you realize that this is different. This man is different. You don't know why, but you feel it deep in your gut, a sense of unease creeping up your spine. He turns toward you as you approach, his eyes locking onto yours with an intensity that makes you freeze for a moment. There's no mistaking it now. He sees you. He's looking at you like he sees everything, everything you are, everything you've been through. Need a client? He asks, his voice calm but firm, as if he's used to making this offer, used to women like you coming to him. You hesitate for a moment, the words catching in your throat, but you know what you need. You know what you've always needed, and you can't afford to say no. Yes, you say, your voice steady, though it's not the answer you want to give. I'll do it. He smiles, but it's not a smile of kindness. It's a smile of understanding, of knowing exactly what you're offering and exactly what he's taking. There's no illusion here. There's nothing left to pretend. And so you follow him. The room smells of dust and old wood, the light dim and fractured as it creeps through the cracks in the small, grimy window. The man leads you into the space, a bare, unadorned room with little to distinguish it from the countless others you found yourself in over the years. There's a single bed pushed against the far wall, the sheets wrinkled and uninviting. The only other piece of furniture is a chair, and that sits beside a small table cluttered with remnants of food and empty bottles. The place feels abandoned, as if it hasn't been used in days, but there's a lingering sense of decay here, a sense of someone trying to hide their true intentions behind a facade of mundanity. You stand still in the doorway for a moment, unsure of what comes next. Your mind races, but it's hard to think straight with the hunger gnawing at you, the sick feeling in your stomach that's not just from physical emptiness, but from something deeper, more insidious. It's the same feeling you've had countless times before, the feeling that this is all you'll ever be, a commodity to be bought and sold. You try to push the thought away, but it lingers, a constant reminder of everything you've given up to make it this far. The man doesn't say anything. He doesn't need to. The air between you is thick with unspoken words. You know exactly what he wants. You know exactly what he expects from you. He's seen it all before, just as you have, and there's nothing new here, no surprises. It's the same old transaction, the same empty exchange. But this time, it feels worse. He steps away, motioning toward the bed with a vague gesture. You know what to do, he says, his voice low and emotionless. His tone leaves no room for doubt or negotiation. You're here for one thing, and one thing only. The words echo in your mind, but you don't respond. You don't need to. You know what comes next. You've done it so many times before, each time with the same hollow resignation. The transaction is never really about the act itself. It's about what it costs you, what you give up in exchange for the fleeting moments of survival. Each time you lose a little more of yourself, but you can't stop. You can't walk away from it. You move toward the bed, your limbs stiff, your body unwilling but compelled to act. It's not about pleasure. It's not about anything other than the need to survive, the need to fill the void that gnaws at you with every passing moment. He watches you, silent, his eyes tracking your every movement. You feel exposed, vulnerable, but there's nothing you can do. You've learned long ago that to resist is to make it worse. To give him what he wants is the only way out. As you undress, the room feels colder, emptier. The air seems to press in on you, suffocating, as if the walls themselves are closing in. You try to block it out, to focus on the task at hand, to make this moment go by as quickly as possible. But it's hard. Every motion feels slow, deliberate, as if your body is resisting, unwilling to cooperate with what's being asked of it. When you finish, the man steps forward, and without a word, he begins to take what he's come for. It's quick, it's mechanical, and as always, you force yourself to go somewhere else, to retreat into a place where it doesn't hurt so much, where you're not aware of what's happening. But you can't block it all out. The touch of his hands is like rough sandpaper against your skin, and the weight of his body pressing into yours is suffocating, like the weight of your entire existence is bearing down on you all at once. The hunger never truly goes away, but after a while, the pain does. It always does. The emptiness, the numbness, the sense that you've given up something more than just your body. It all fades into the background, replaced by something colder, something more manageable. And when it's over, the man pulls away, indifferent, like it was nothing more than a transaction. He doesn't look at you, doesn't say anything. The moment is gone, and he's already moving on, already preparing for the next one. You sit up slowly, your body aching, your limbs heavy and uncooperative. You don't feel like you've gained anything. Not really. The hunger is still there, the gnawing emptiness, but it's different now. It's not the hunger for food. It's not the kind of hunger you can fill with a loaf of stale bread or a few coins. It's the hunger for something more, something that you've been chasing for years, only to find that it doesn't exist. You look at the man, but he's already turning away, his focus on something else. He's done with you. He's already moved on. You're just another transaction, just another woman he's used and discarded. You don't mean anything to him, and that realization hits you like a wave, drowning you in its cold, unforgiving truth. The emptiness inside you grows. It expands, consuming you from the inside out. You want to scream, but the sound dies in your throat. You want to cry, but you've forgotten how. The tears won't come anymore. You've cried so many times before, and nothing ever changes. The world goes on, indifferent to your pain, indifferent to your suffering. You get dressed slowly, mechanically, as if your body is on autopilot, as if it doesn't belong to you anymore. You don't even care to look at the man as you leave the room. There's nothing left to say. You're nothing to him. You're nothing to anyone. When you step back into the square, the world feels even colder than before. The noise of the market is louder now, the crowd's thicker, but it doesn't matter. You've become invisible again. You've always been invisible, and that's how it should be. No one here cares about you. No one here sees you. You're just another face in the crowd, another body moving through the city, another woman selling herself for survival. You walk through the square, your feet moving automatically, your eyes fixed on the ground in front of you. You don't want to look up. You don't want to see the others, the women standing at the edges of the stalls, the ones waiting for their turn. You don't want to see the men watching, their eyes scanning, looking for someone to claim. You don't want to see any of it. You don't want to see yourself. The hunger comes back again, but this time it's not just hunger. It's something deeper, something darker. It's a hunger for escape, for freedom, for a life that isn't defined by what you're willing to give away. It's a hunger for something that you can't have, something that doesn't exist in this world. You've tried to find it before, but it's always slipped through your fingers, always out of reach. You don't know how long you walk. Time blurs here. You can feel the ache in your muscles, the weight of your decisions pressing on you, but you keep moving forward. You have no other choice. Eventually, you find yourself at the edge of the market, the crowds thinning, the noise fading. You stop for a moment, standing on the edge of the city, looking out at the streets that stretch before you, empty and silent. It's hard to know what to do next. It's hard to know what comes after all of this. But you do know one thing. You'll keep moving. You'll keep surviving because that's all you have left. The streets are quieter now, the crowds thinning as the day begins to slip into evening. The setting sun casts long shadows over the market square, the fading light adding a tinge of melancholy to the otherwise noisy scene. It's that hour when the world seems to pause for a moment. The shift between day and night, between what has been and what is about to come. You don't know where you're going, but it doesn't matter. The rhythm of your feet against the cobblestones has become second nature, each step automatic. You don't need to think anymore. The world around you is full of movement, but you've stopped noticing the people, the vendors, the merchants haggling over the last bits of fruit. None of it matters to you anymore. You're just another person passing through, a part of the landscape, an anonymous shadow in the midst of it all. The hunger in your stomach still roars, but it's not as sharp now, not as demanding. It's become a dull, constant ache, one that you've learned to ignore. It's the same kind of hunger you feel deep inside, a hollow emptiness that can never really be filled. It doesn't matter how much you eat, how much you beg, how much you sell yourself, there's always something missing, something that you can't quite identify, but you feel it with every breath. You pass by the alleyways, the dark corners where the streetlights don't reach, where the city's forgotten inhabitants live in the shadows, hidden away from the gaze of the rest of the world. You know them. You've seen them before, the drunks, the addicts, the ones who don't even bother trying to survive anymore. They've given up. Let the city swallow them whole. You can't afford to give up. You know that. You don't want to end up like them, lost in the fog of your own despair, drowning in the darkness. You've seen what happens when you let that kind of apathy take root, when you stop fighting. The women who end up that way are never seen again, discarded like old rags, forgotten by a world that doesn't care. It's a fate worse than death. It's a slow, painful unraveling, a decline into nothingness. So you keep moving, you keep fighting, even if it's just for the next moment, the next meal, the next breath, even if you don't know why anymore. You find yourself on a quiet street, away from the square. It's dark here, the buildings pressing in close on either side. You stop for a moment, your eyes scanning the street. There are no people here, no noise, just the distant hum of the city behind you. You feel small in this space, swallowed up by the darkness, but you don't mind. It's better than the constant noise of the market, better than the feeling of being watched, of being judged. You sit down on a low stone ledge, the cold of the stone seeping through the thin fabric of your dress. You don't mind. The chill feels like a kind of comfort, like it's a somehow grounding you, reminding you that you're still here, still alive, still capable of feeling. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the silence wash over you. The quiet is both a balm and a torment. On one hand, it's a brief escape from the noise, the hustle, the demands of survival. But on the other hand, it leaves you alone with your thoughts, alone with the hunger that never stops gnawing at you, the emptiness that you can't escape. You don't know how to fill it anymore, don't know how to make the feeling go away. You've tried. You've tried so many things, but nothing works. You think back to the man from earlier. His touch had been rough, mechanical, like he was only going through the motions. You had felt nothing during the transaction, nothing but the cold, numbing feeling of detachment. It's always the same. You give yourself and you take what you need, but it never satisfies you. Not really. The hunger still remains. It never leaves. You remember the woman from the square, the one who helped you when the man tried to take what he wanted by force. She had been older, her face worn by the years, but there had been something about her that made you feel seen. For the briefest moment, you had been a person to her, not just another woman on the edge of the market. She hadn't looked at you with pity or with judgment, but with something else, something you couldn't quite place. It had felt almost like kindness, but you know better than to believe in kindness. Kindness doesn't exist in a world like this. People don't help each other because they care. They help because they have their own reasons, their own needs. The thought stirs something in you, something that almost feels like hope, but you push it down. Hope doesn't get you anywhere. Hope doesn't feed you. Hope doesn't protect you. Hope is a dangerous thing in this city. It's a lie, a fantasy. It's not real. You stand up and continue walking, moving deeper into the city. There's always somewhere to go, always somewhere to be. You know this. You've walked these streets enough times to know where to go, who to avoid, who to trust. The alleys become more familiar, the buildings more decrepit, the city's underbelly starting to show itself in the cracks of the sidewalk, in the abandoned storefronts, the broken windows. You stop when you reach an alley that's particularly quiet, a place you've come to know over the years. It's out of the way. hidden from view, a place where people don't often go. The ground is littered with scraps of paper and broken bottles, the remnants of a world that's slowly crumbling under the weight of its own neglect. You lean against the wall for a moment, trying to collect your thoughts, trying to steady your breath. Your mind is a whirlwind of memories, of regrets, of decisions you can't undo. You've made so many mistakes, so many choices you wish you could take back, but you can't. All you can do is keep moving forward, keep surviving. That's all this life has ever been about. A small voice at the back of your mind whispers to you, a voice that sounds strangely familiar. You could stop. You could leave all of this behind, but the voice quickly fades, drowned out by the harsh reality of your situation. You can't leave. There's nowhere else for you to go. You sigh deeply, the weight of everything pressing down on you. The hunger is still there, still gnawing at you, but there's something else now, something that feels almost like defeat. You've been running for so long, and you're not sure how much longer you can keep up the pace. It feels like the world is closing in on you, the walls getting tighter with each passing day. The world doesn't care about you, doesn't care about what you've been through. You are nothing here, just another body, just another nameless face in the crowd. It doesn't matter how much you fight, how much you give. The world takes, and it doesn't give one thing back. You push off from the wall, the movement stiff, mechanical. It's time to keep moving. It's time to keep surviving. You don't look back as you walk away, but a small part of you wonders how much longer you can keep going before you break, before the weight of it all crushes you completely. You don't have an answer to that question. You never will. The streets stretch endlessly before you, an unbroken line of cobblestone and shadow. The sun has long since sunk behind the horizon, and the darkness wraps itself around the city like a suffocating blanket. You move through the night like a ghost, blending in with the shadows, trying to avoid the glances of the few remaining souls wandering these streets. The market has emptied out, the usual bustle replaced by the stillness that settles over the city after hours. In this silence, you feel more invisible than ever, more irrelevant. You are a part of the night now, neither seen nor heard. But the hunger is still there, always there. The gnawing emptiness in your stomach seems louder than ever now, echoing through your body. You know it's not just the physical need for food, it's something deeper, something that you can never fully name. It's the kind of hunger that you can never fill, no matter how much you eat, no matter how many men you satisfy. It's a hunger for meaning, for a reason to keep going, for something that isn't this. But you know better than to search for that something. It doesn't exist in this world. You pass the alleyways, where the discarded bodies of the city's forgotten inhabitants lie. Some are still breathing, barely holding on to life, while others have already succumbed to the cold, the violence, or the neglect that defines this place. You've seen them all before, those who have fallen through the cracks, who have given up, who have given in to the overwhelming weight of the world. They're the ones who didn't survive. And every time you pass them, you're reminded of what's at stake. You're reminded of how easy it would be to slip into that same oblivion, to stop fighting, to let the world swallow you whole. But you won't. Not yet. Not today. You've learned that survival doesn't come from making the right choices. It comes from making the only choice. It comes from putting one foot in front of the other, day after day, until there's nothing left to give but the barest of essentials: food, shelter, a few hours of sleep, and the strength to keep moving forward. You're not living, you're surviving. That's the only difference between you and those who've fallen to the streets. You're still fighting, still trying to make it through another day. The hunger in your gut is a constant reminder of that fight. The gnawing emptiness doesn't just belong to your body, it's in your soul, too. It's in the way you look at the world, the way you see the men who come to you, their eyes cold, their hands rough, their voices demanding. You've learned how to hide the disgust, how to bury the resentment deep down, but it's always there. Always. You walk faster now, the cold of the night biting at your skin, the air thick with the stench of the city's refuse. The streets are quieter now, but the danger hasn't lessened. In fact, the stillness only makes it worse. The empty spaces between the buildings feel like traps waiting to close in on you. Every step you take echoes in the silence, reminding you of your vulnerability, of your isolation. But you don't stop. You can't afford to. You don't know where you're going. You never do. The night has become just another part of the cycle, the endless loop of trying to survive, trying to find a way to exist in a place that doesn't care whether you live or die. It doesn't matter how hard you try, how much you push yourself, the world will always find a way to make you small, to make you feel like you don't belong. You pass the corner where you often find a small group of women gathered, standing in the shadows, waiting for someone to approach. You don't stop this time. You never do anymore. The sight of them is a reminder of what you've become, of how far you've fallen from whatever life you might have once imagined for yourself. They stand there, offering themselves to the world in exchange for whatever scraps they can get: money, food, a few hours of warmth. You know their stories. They're just like you, just like the others, all of you stuck in this place where survival is the only thing that matters. A figure steps out from the shadows as you walk by, their silhouette barely visible against the dim streetlights. You don't recognize them at first, but then they speak, their voice soft and familiar, like something from a forgotten dream. "You're still here," the voice says, and it feels like a small shock to your system, like you've woken up from a long, exhausting sleep. You freeze, unsure of whether to turn and face them. Your body tenses, a primal reaction, one that you've learned to cultivate over years of being constantly on guard. You turn slowly, your gaze meeting theirs. It's her, the woman from the square, the one who helped you that day when the man had grabbed you. Her face is still the same, worn but sharp, her eyes hard from years of surviving in the same world as you. But there's something different now, something softer in the way she looks at you. You're not sure what it is, but it's there, lingering in the silence between you both. She steps closer, her movements hesitant, as though she's unsure whether you'll remember her, unsure of whether you'll acknowledge her. But you do. You remember everything. You remember the way she stood up for you, the way she looked at you like you weren't just another object for the men to take. You're still alive, I see, she says, a small wry smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. That's something. You nod, the words sticking in your throat, unwilling to come out. There's something about her presence that makes you feel seen, that makes you feel like you're not just another body in the crowd. But you can't afford to hold on to that. You can't afford to let it matter. I'm still here, you say finally, your voice barely above a whisper. Somehow, the woman looks at you for a long moment, her eyes searching your face, looking for something you're not sure she'll find. You don't know what she wants from you, what she expects, but you can't help but feel a strange kind of connection to her. In this world where everything is transactional, where everyone has their price, she's the only one who's ever given you something without expecting anything in return. It's a rare thing, that kindness, and it leaves an uncomfortable warmth in your chest, a reminder of how much you've lost, how much you've given up. I don't know how you do it, she says, after a long pause, her voice quieter now. How you keep going. You shrug, the movement more out of habit than anything else. It's not a question you can answer. It's not something you can explain. The truth is, you don't know how you keep going. You don't know how you keep surviving, how you manage to push through the pain, the emptiness, the constant gnawing hunger. You don't know why you do it. You just do. I don't have a choice, you say softly, your voice cracking just a little. It's the truth, but it feels like a lie. You know you have choices. You always have choices, but the options are always the same. Survive or not. Keep going or stop. She looks at you for a long time, as if weighing your words, trying to understand something that's impossible to explain. She's been where you are, you can tell. She's been in the same place, struggling to find a way out of the cycle. But there's no way out. Not for people like you, not for women like you. She nods, her expression softening, but her eyes harden again, as if bracing for what's to come next. Do what you have to do, she says, but don't forget who you are. And with that, she turns and walks away, disappearing into the shadows, leaving you standing there in the quiet darkness. For a moment, you don't move. You just stand there, the emptiness swallowing you whole, the hunger gnawing at your insides, the silence wrapping itself around you like a shroud. But you can't stay here. You can't stay still for too long. You turn and start walking again, your feet moving automatically. There's nothing left for you here, Not really. You've given everything you can, and yet, somehow, you keep going because that's all you can do. You keep walking, your steps aimless but steady, as if your body knows exactly where it's going, even if your mind doesn't. The shadows of the city stretch long and thick around you, and you can feel them closing in. The familiar street corners, the alleys, the darkened doorways, all of them are suffocating you in ways you can't quite explain. The emptiness in your stomach has become an almost physical presence, pressing against you, and the thoughts in your head are just as suffocating. The gnawing hunger isn't just for food anymore. It's for something you don't even know how to name, something beyond survival, beyond the harsh grind of each passing day. There's no room for such thoughts, though. Not here, not now. You stop for a moment, leaning against a crumbling stone wall to catch your breath. The air is thick, the smell of wet concrete and decay filling your lungs, but you don't mind it. The smell is a part of this life, a reminder that you're still here, that you've made it through another day. But even now, even with that small victory, you can't shake the weight of the thought that has been following you ever since you stepped out of that man's room. What's the point of it all? You've been playing this game for so long, and it's starting to feel like you're going in circles. You've been surviving, yes, but what are you surviving for? Every day is the same. Wake up, fight off the hunger, survive the cold, and repeat. It's the only rhythm you've known for years, but it feels like it's breaking something inside of you, eroding the parts of you that used to be whole. You're becoming a thing, a body that keeps moving just for the sake of it. You don't have the luxury of dreams anymore, not in a place like this. You've long since stopped wondering if it gets better because you know the answer. It doesn't. You pull yourself off the wall and start walking again. Your legs ache, your back aches, but you've learned to ignore it. Pain doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. You've learned to numb yourself to it, just like you've learned to numb yourself to everything else. The looks from men, the whispers from strangers, the quiet judgment of the women who stand at the edges of the market. They all know your story. They've all seen what this life does to a person. You pass through the streets in a haze, your mind distant, until you come across the small tavern at the corner. You've seen this place 100 times, but tonight it feels different. The soft glow of candlelight spilling through the windows catches your eye, the sound of raucous laughter leaking into the street, and for a moment you wonder if you should go in. Maybe you could sit, have a drink, maybe even forget for a few minutes that this is your life. But you know better than to go inside. It's never just a drink. It's never just a moment of peace. You've seen what happens to women like you in places like that. The men who come in aren't looking for companionship. They're looking for control, for something to claim, something to take. So you keep walking, forcing yourself to ignore the tug of temptation, the brief flicker of a life you could never have. You don't deserve it. You know that. You've never deserved anything else. Not since the moment you became part of this broken system, part of the world that consumes you without a second thought. You keep walking. The streets seem to stretch on forever, the darkness wrapping around you, pulling you deeper into its grasp. It's easy to get lost in the city at night. The familiar landmarks blur together, and the constant feeling of being watched, of being unnoticed, of being small becomes overwhelming. You wish you could disappear, vanish into the night, and escape all of this. But you can't. You never can. Eventually, you end up at the edge of town where the cobblestones give way to dirt roads. The buildings become more sparse, and the lights flicker faintly in the distance. There's nothing here. No vendors, no markets, no crowds. Just empty streets and empty buildings. You stand there for a moment, unsure of why you've come, but the answer doesn't matter. You're here because you have nowhere else to go, because you have no other choice. This part of the city is different. It's quieter, emptier, a place for the forgotten to live and die. The buildings here are run down, abandoned by the rest of the world, just like you. You've passed through here before, but something about tonight makes you feel like you belong here more than anywhere else. You walk deeper into the streets, the buildings growing darker and more oppressive with each step. The cold seems sharper here, the silence louder. You walk past darkened windows, past doors that hang loosely on their hinges, as if the entire city is giving up, slowly crumbling beneath its own weight. You've always known this was the end, the place where people like you go when they're done, when they've given everything they can and have nothing left to give. But something in you keeps moving forward. You don't stop. You can't. The hunger returns, sharper now, as the cold bites deeper into your skin. You're not sure if it's the hunger for food or the hunger for something else. Something you can't quite grasp. Something you've been chasing without ever knowing why. You've lost track of time. You've lost track of everything except the hunger. You stop in front of a building at the end of the street, a place you've never been before, but you know you're supposed to go in. Something about it feels right. Or maybe it's just the exhaustion, the constant push to keep going that's made you numb to everything else. You knock on the door, your knuckles rapping against the wood with a dull thud. It's not a knock you've ever used before, but it feels right. You wait for a moment, but no one answers. You knock again, louder this time, your hands trembling slightly, and then the door creaks open. A man stands on the other side, his face hidden in shadow. What do you want? His voice is gruff, cautious, as if he's seen too many people like you come through this door before, each one with a story, each one with a need. You don't know how to answer. The words feel stuck in your throat, the weight of everything pressing down on you. I, you begin, but the words don't come. They never do. The man steps aside, his eyes scanning you quickly, and then he gestures for you to come inside. Get in then, he says, his voice still low but not unkind. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. You step inside, the air thick with the smell of damp wood and old smoke. The room is dim, filled with the faint flicker of candlelight, and you can see the outlines of other figures in the shadows. They're all sitting quietly, their heads lowered, as if lost in their own thoughts, their own struggles. You've seen this before, but tonight it feels different. It feels like you've finally reached the end of the line. There's no going back now. There never was. The door closes softly behind you, the click of the lock echoing in the quiet room. The dimness of the space is a sharp contrast to the harsh, cold night outside. You've stepped into another world, one that's hidden away from the city, one that exists in the shadows where things like light, warmth, and life rarely reach. The air inside is thick with the smell of stale smoke and something else, something faintly familiar but almost impossible to place. You don't ask questions here. You don't need to. The man shuts the door behind you, his face obscured by the shadows, his figure barely visible against the dim glow of the flickering candle on the table. It's a small, private space, tucked away from the city's constant noise, a sanctuary for those who, like you, need to hide from the world. He motions for you to sit, and you do, your body stiff and heavy with the exhaustion of the day. You can feel the weight of your decision in your limbs, the slow burn of every step that led you here to this very moment. You look around, taking in the room with a glance. The walls are bare, save for a few scraps of paper pinned to the wooden boards. The floor is covered in threadbare rugs, worn down by years of use. There's no luxury here. There's nothing here except the bare minimum, a place to rest, to hide, to forget. You've been in places like this before, and you know what comes next. You know the unspoken rules, the kind of transaction you're about to enter. The man moves to the corner of the room, pulling out a small bottle and setting it on the table. His movements are slow, deliberate, like he's done this hundreds of times before. He doesn't look at you as he pours the contents into two mismatched cups, the liquid dark and rich, like something that's meant to make you forget, even if only for a little while. He places one cup in front of you, the other in front of him. You don't reach for it immediately. You can already feel the familiar tightening in your chest, the creeping unease that always follows these kinds of moments. You've learned to guard yourself, to be cautious, to never fully surrender. He sits across from you, his eyes meeting yours for the first time since you entered. There's something about the way he looks at you, too much distance, too little warmth, that makes you want to shrink back, to disappear into the corners of the room. But you don't. You stay where you are, forcing yourself to hold his gaze, even though you can feel the vulnerability crawling up your spine. I know you've been through a lot, he says, his voice low and even, but there's an undercurrent of something, something that feels too calm, too practiced. You wouldn't be here if you hadn't. His words hang in the air between you, thick with unspoken implications. You don't know if he's referring to your body, to your life, or to the fact that you've come to him for something, anything, just to make the hunger, the emptiness, stop, even for a moment. You don't respond. You can't. What is there to say? That you've been running for years? That you've survived on scraps and desperation, piecing together a life that's only half lived? It doesn't matter. You've done what you needed to do, he continues, as if trying to comfort you, though there's nothing comforting in his words. But everyone has their breaking point. No one can keep going forever. You know exactly what he means, but you don't give him the satisfaction of acknowledging it. You've learned not to show weakness, not to show the cracks that are beginning to form inside you. You've learned that admitting defeat in this world only gives others the power to take more from you. They'll never stop, not unless you make them. The man takes a sip from his cup, watching you intently as he does. You don't move. You can feel the tension building between you, the thick, uncomfortable silence that lingers like a bad memory. He sets the cup down, his eyes still fixed on you. Here, he says, gesturing to the cup in front of you. Drink, it'll help you forget. His offer is almost too familiar, too practiced. It's a promise of something temporary, something to ease the pain, the loneliness, the hunger, but you know better than to trust it. You know better than to believe in anything that's offered without a price. You hesitate, your fingers hovering over the cup. Part of you wants to take it, to drink away the ache that's been with you for so long, but another part of you resists, unwilling to surrender, unwilling to give in to the numbness that always follows. You've been here before, in these small, empty rooms, with these men who offer you something for nothing. You've learned the hard way that nothing is ever free. Don't worry, he says, his voice softer now, almost soothing. It won't change anything. It's just for a little while, just to help you rest. The words are tempting. You can almost feel the weight of exhaustion pulling at your body, the fatigue that's been building for days, for weeks. You could give in, let him give you this moment of peace, this brief respite from the hunger, the loneliness, the endless cycle of survival. You could let go just for a second. But you don't. You stand up slowly, your legs unsteady, your body protesting the movement, but you force yourself to stay on your feet. You look at the man one last time, but his face is unreadable, his expression distant. I'm not interested, you say, your voice stronger than you feel. Not tonight. He doesn't say anything at first, just watches you with those cold eyes, but you can feel the shift in the air. His expression doesn't change, but there's something in the way he moves that tells you he's not used to being turned down. You'll be back, he says, his voice almost a whisper, like it's a certainty, something he's known for a long time. They always come back. You don't respond. You don't need to. He doesn't understand. None of them do. You don't come back for the same reasons. You come back because you don't have a choice, but not tonight, not this time. You turn and walk toward the door, your body heavy with the weight of the decision. You don't look back, not even once. You leave the small room behind, stepping back into the cold night air, where the world seems to swallow you up once again, indifferent and uncaring. But as you walk away, the hunger inside you grows, gnawing at you once more, a reminder that nothing ever changes, that this world only takes, and you're just another piece of it. You don't know where you're going next. It doesn't matter. You'll keep moving because that's all you can do. And so you walk. The night air is thick with fog, the kind that clings to the streets like a second skin. It wraps around you, making the world feel smaller, more confined. Each step you take feels like it echoes through the empty spaces, reverberating back at you with a hollow sound. The weight of the city presses down on you, the endless, unyielding pressure that makes it impossible to breathe freely. But you keep walking, the movement automatic, the rhythm of your steps steady and familiar. You don't know where you're going. You never do. The city is a labyrinth of dark alleys and winding streets, and you've learned to navigate it by instinct. There's no map here, no guide, no way to escape. There's only the endless churn of the world around you, the unrelenting cycle that has become your life. The hunger is still there, gnawing at your insides, but you've learned to ignore it. It's a constant companion, one that you've become used to over the years. You don't let it control you. You can't afford to. The thought of stopping, of finding somewhere to rest, seems impossible. You've learned that you can never stop moving, never stop looking for the next opportunity, the next scrap to hold on to. If you stop, if you pause for too long, you risk being swallowed by the darkness, by the weight of everything that has come before. The past is always there, lurking behind you, waiting to drag you back into its depths. The memory of the man in the small room lingers in your mind, but you push it aside. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to think about anything, really. It's all just part of the same broken system, the same endless cycle of survival. Nothing changes, nothing ever will. You pass by a few people as you walk, their faces blurred and indistinct, but you don't make eye contact. You never do. The anonymity of the crowd is your shield, the one thing that keeps you from being exposed, from being seen for what you really are. You've learned to hide, to become just another figure in the sea of bodies. To stand out here is to invite danger, and you can't afford that. Not now, not ever. The streets begin to feel more deserted as you move further away from the heart of the city. The buildings grow older, more decrepit, their walls crumbling under the weight of time. There are fewer people around now, fewer voices, fewer signs of life. It's the part of the city that most people avoid, the forgotten corner where the unwanted are left to fend for themselves. It's where you've spent most of your time, where you've learned to survive, where you've learned that the world doesn't care about you. You turn a corner and find yourself at the edge of a narrow alley, one you've walked down countless times before. It's darker here, the shadows thick, but you don't hesitate. This is your world, the world of the forgotten. You don't belong anywhere else, not anymore. There's a small doorway ahead, its wood warped and weathered by the years. It's an unmarked door, hidden away from the rest of the world. You know what lies behind it, but you hesitate for a moment before knocking. The knock is soft, barely audible in the stillness of the night, but it's enough. You hear movement on the other side, footsteps, followed by the sound of the door unlocking. The door creaks open slowly, revealing a figure standing in the doorway. It's a man, older than most of the others you've encountered, his face lined with age and experience. He doesn't speak, just steps aside to let you in. You've been here before, and you know what to expect. This place is as much a part of the cycle as anything else. It's another stop on the long road to survival, another moment where you can rest, if only for a little while. You step inside, the warmth of the room wrapping around you like a blanket. It's a small space, modest and unassuming, but it's enough. The man motions for you to sit, and you do, lowering yourself onto a worn couch that has seen better days. He doesn't offer you anything. No food, no drink, no comfort. This isn't a place for comfort. It's a place for transactions, for exchanging what little you have left in order to make it through another night. The man sits across from you, his eyes never leaving you, as if waiting for you to say something to make the next move. You don't speak right away. You never do. The silence between you is heavy, thick with unspoken words, with the weight of everything you've both endured. You've learned to keep your thoughts to yourself in places like this. There's no point in explaining, no point in trying to make sense of it all. It's just another transaction, another moment in the endless cycle. Finally, the man speaks, his voice low and gravelly. "You're still here," he says, almost as a statement, as if he expected nothing less. Most don't last this long. You don't respond. What is there to say? You've been here before, in this place, in this moment. You've heard these words 1,000 times, but they don't mean anything anymore. You've lost count of the number of times you've been told you're still here, still surviving, still fighting. It's all just noise, empty words that don't change anything. I've seen others like you, he continues, his eyes hardening. They all think they can make it through. They all think they have a choice. You feel the weight of his words, the way they settle on your chest like a stone, but you don't let them show. You don't let him see the way they make you feel. You've heard it all before, and it doesn't matter. You have no choice. You know that. You've always known that. The man leans back in his chair, his eyes still fixed on you, his expression unreadable. There's a flicker of something, pity, contempt, but it's gone before you can place it. "You'll keep going," he says softly, almost to himself. You'll keep moving forward even when it feels like you can't anymore. You nod, the motion automatic, as if you've accepted the truth of his words long ago. You've kept moving forward because that's all you know how to do. It's the only thing you can do, and the hunger will always be there, gnawing at you, reminding you that you're alive, but only just. The man doesn't say anything more. He doesn't need to. You both understand the rules here. There's nothing left to say. You stand up, your body stiff from the long hours of walking and the tension that's been building inside you. You turn to leave, your footsteps echoing in the quiet room as you make your way back to the door. The man watches you go, but he doesn't stop you. You don't need him to. You've never needed anyone. As you step back into the night, the hunger rises again, sharp and insistent, a reminder that nothing ever changes. You've been through it all before, and you'll go through it all again, because that's what survival is. It's a cycle, an endless loop of giving and taking, of living and dying. And no matter how much you try to fight it, it will always pull you back in. You keep walking, the darkness swallowing you whole.